Alright guys, so today we're checking out the brand new One More Comfo Buds. Now, not that it really matters, but I do want to point out that I am not a huge fan of the name of these. Now what they are a STEM style design earbud. In fact, this is the first STEM style design from the company One More. They do come in retailing at $60, but on their website and on Amazon, you can actually pick these up for $50. So we're going to check out what all features these have, what you get inside the box, and see if it's actually worth the $60 price tag. Now I do want to start with the fact that these have 13.4 millimeter dynamic drivers, which obviously means there's going to be a pretty good emphasis on the bass, but we'll talk about that a little bit later when we talk about the sound. Now these are also considered a semi in-ear design, which resembles what Apple's AirPods are, where they kind of sit in your ear and they don't rely on having a silicone ear tip to have a good seal. Although this is where these stand out from Apple's AirPods. There is still a tiny little silicone grip, basically where the ear tip is located, and it's not made to give you a good seal, but what it's trying to do is to keep a good grip so you can actually do things and not have to worry about these moving around or falling out. Now, as far as the technology that these have, these are using Bluetooth 5.0, and they have AAC and SBC playback. And I noticed with watching movies or videos, I didn't experience any kind of lag, and there is a slight lag if you're going to be using these while gaming. Now, as far as the IP rating, they come in rated at IPX5, so it's not a pair that you can submerge into water, but this is still easily a pair you can use in the gym or you can use outdoors, and you don't have to worry if it starts to rain or if you're somebody that sweats heavily. Now, as far as what you're getting inside the box, like I said, the little ear tip that's on there is not made to give you a good seal, so there are no extra ear tips inside the box. Now, as far as the charging cable, there is a USB-C cable. Speaking of the charging cable, battery life is not going to be anything special here because on the earbuds themselves, you're only going to get 4 hours, where with the charging case, you're only going to get 18 hours total. And on this pair, there's no fast charge. The case is not a Qi wireless charging case, although the case I actually like a lot on these. It is very, very tiny. It's very slim. Now it is slippery. It has that glossy material to it, so you definitely want to make sure you have a good grip on these or it's easily going to slide out of your hand. Now on the back of the case, you can see the USB-C input for charging, and then up front there is just a single indicator light. That way you can kind of gauge how much battery life is left on the case. So moving over to checking out the earbuds, like I said earlier, these definitely resemble Apple's AirPods, other than the fact that it does slim down towards the end of the stem. Now these do use touch controls, and this is another frustrating pair where they chose to limit your controls. Now I did not like the controls that it had right out of the box, but luckily this does work with One More's app, so you can customize the controls. And so what I did was I had it have the ability to skip my tracks forward and go backwards and turn the volume up and down. Now the reason I decided to sacrifice the play and pause is because these do have the smart sensors where if I just take one earbud out, it will pause my music and then it will resume when I put them back in. Now I still would have liked to have been able to control that simply by touching these, but because the controls are limited, I did have to let that go. And I also had to sacrifice having voice control. So that is a lot to have to sacrifice, especially when the company can just have single tap functions or long press functions. But luckily, because these work with One More's app, hopefully that is something that they can add in a firmware update. Now, as far as you guys that like to use your earbuds individually, you'll be happy to know that you can use either the left or the right. And as far as the microphones on here, this is an area where I think they did a really decent job. It's using 4 microphones total. It also has that environmental noise canceling to try to block out your surroundings while you're on a phone call. That way it's focused in on your voice and you can't hear a lot of the stuff around you. But you guys can be a judge by listening to a test here. Alright guys, so here is a mic test using the One More Comfo Buds. I think it does a really decent job of picking up my voice, but this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call. And so now here is a mic test with a crowd noise being played, which you can hear here. And so this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call in public. So now let's talk about the sound. And the sound really is affected by the design of these because in the ad of the earbuds, it actually says something about these being bass heavy. That is something that they're not, and it's really something they're not capable of being because of their semi-open design. If you don't have a really good seal with a pair of earbuds, you're not going to have that really thick, punchy bass impact. Now, they still did find a good way to have pretty nice kick to it, but it is very quick. It's not something that has that subwoofer type feel. But because of the open design, it sounds really natural. There is a lot of attention to detail in the mids and the highs. So if you are looking for a pair where you like to hear a lot of the subtle sounds, you like things to sound very clear and very natural, that is where these come in. But if you are a bass head and if you really like that punchy, overpowering bass, this is not going to be the pair for you. But where I felt like these shine are using these with movies, using them with videos and podcasts, a lot of genres that aren't heavily relying on bass. It really stood out with using them for those purposes. Now, I still felt like they sounded great with mainstream type music, but most consumer products have that really thick bass sound, and these went a little bit more towards the accurate side. So it's very interesting. I think they sound way better than Apple's AirPods, and again, the fact that you can pick these up for $60 makes these a hell of a deal if you're comparing them to Apple's AirPods. But as far as my cons with these, they really need to fix the controls where you can control everything. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more battery life out of these, and I think if you are a bass head, you're going to be left wanting a little bit more when it comes to the bass. But overall, I think it's a great sounding earbud. It was kind of like a breath of fresh air compared to a lot of the other earbuds that I tried. I love the detailed sound that these had. And I think a lot of people are going to be very happy with these. But guys, that's my video on the One More Comfo Buds. Again, maybe they can change the name. That would also help. But thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.